Colors Hobby Haven, and I'm here to show you our October Copic coloring card kit. In your card kit you're going to get a sheet of instructions, and on the sheet will tell you what Copic markers you'll need to color it, and then it'll also give you step-by-step which colors I colored in. And for this kit we're going to be coloring an Emerald Faerie Garden stamp called Isla. It's very cute. She's a red rubber mounted on cling mount, so you can put her on your little acrylic block and stamp her. And I've stamped her with Memento Tuxedo Black ink on Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock. And here she is. Very cute. Okay, so let's get started. I've already got her stamped, and so I'm going to start by shadowing my image all the way around with C0. So I'm just going to go around the outside of my image just with a little line all the way around. Kind of gives her a pop-up 3D effect. And it's personal preference. If you don't want to outline your image, just, you know, don't. Or if you want to use a different color, that's fine too. And I get in here between her skirt and her legs. Get the dandelion puffs up here. I'm not being too tidy on that. I'm just kind of trying to hit each step. Zoom in so you can see what that looks like. But see how there's just a little bit of a shadow there on the outside of the image? You can barely see it. Once it dries, it'll just be a little bit. Okay, so now let's color her skin, and for that I'm going to use E20 and E21, and I start with the darkest color and then go to the lightest and then come back and add more as I need it. So I'm going to start with E21 and add a little bit of shading. So right here above where her hair is, it'd be a little bit dark, and kind of along the dandelion puff. And then she's got a little bit of skin showing right here in her neck. Get the underside of her arm, because I'm going to say the light's coming from on this side over here, so it's going to be kind of shining down on her face. Okay, and then I'm going to switch over to E20, and I'm just going to blend that in. So I just kind of give it a little flicking motion, so my pen's just barely touching the paper. But it's also going over the E21 that I put down in the first place. So it kind of grabs a little bit of that color as I'm flicking it and drags it along out here to the white space and fills it in a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to E21 and I'm going to do her face. So I think it's going to be some more shadows over here on the side where her arm is. And then a little bit underneath of her chin, above her nose. A little bit on her forehead there. And then I'm going to do the inside of her ear. And on the bottom side. Okay, and then I'm going to switch to E with 2 zeros, and again I'm just going to barely flick over the color I just laid down and just drag it up onto my white area that's left. Same with her face. Drag down off of her E21, down here towards her nose, and towards her cheek. Get down here on this side. Okay, now I'm going to go back with E21 again and add a little bit more shadows down here on her arm. So I'm going to do a little bit right there, along here. Inside of her ear again. I'm just going to try to darken it up a little bit where I think there would be a little bit more shadow line. Okay, now I'm going to go back with E20s and blend that line. And see how you can see how it's a little bit darker on this side of her face over here compared to this side on this right here on her cheek. So I just add a little bit more shadows on there. But let's give her some cheek color with R20 and R30. So I start with R20, and I'm just going to dab a little bit here on these little dots on her cheek. Same on this side. And then I'm going to take R30, and I'm going to put my brush in the middle of my dot and just brush out away. So that'll pull a little bit of your R20 with it and spread the color out just a little bit. And then I'm going to go over it, the whole thing again with E20s. And as long as I got out the pinks, let's do the inside of her mouth too. So I've got R30 for the back of her throat and the inside of her cheek. And then I'm going to do her tongue with R20. And then I'm going to do it a second time. So I've got R30 for the back of her throat and her cheek. And then her tongue with R20. And I want to darken her cheeks up a little bit, so I'm going to put a little bit more R20 on that. And then I'll feather the edge with R30. And that is her skin. So let's move on to her hair, which will be E44 and E43. So I'm going to start with E44, and I'm just going to get where it's going to be the darkest. So right next to her forehead, I'm going to grab just a little bit. Down here closest to where her hair comes out of by her neck. Same for this side. Okay, and then I'm going to add E43. And again, I'm going to start on E44 and pull it back out to the ends of her hair. So you pull just a little bit of the E44 and lighten up that little line that's right there. And my pen, again, is just barely touching the paper. And then I'll go back and I want to darken up her roots a little bit, so I'm just going to go back with E44. I'm just going to give it a little dab right here on the end of her bangs where it touches her forehead. Same down here. And then I'll blend that line with E43. I'm just kind of tapping where the line meets the other color and give it just a little bit of a drag. So I've still got the end of her hair is still lighter than the top of her hair.